Hello, how to complete Form 940 for 2023 Employer Annual Federal Unemployment Tax Return. To start, you'll go to IRS website and you'll tap like irs.gov and you search Form 940. And when you do that, it will lead you to this page where you can click on Form 940 and download it, and click on the instructions for Form 940 and download it as well. And yeah, and you can come back to it when you need more forms related to your return. And if you are having issue finding a form, you can access our blog ninasop.com. Under Federal Tax Form and Instructions, we have links to IRS forms as well that we save. You can see if you can find the one you are looking for. So let's start with the Form 940 and the instructions to the Form 940 for 2023. Now that we have the instruction open, you make sure it's the latest version. You will refer to the instruction. When you are completing a session and you are not sure, in fact, it will be good to read the instruction and then highlight what you find interesting that is related to your business. And when you start completing the form, you can go back to the instruction and see if there is a line that you do not understand how to complete. You'll go back to the instruction to read that section and see what it is asked of you. So first, let's get started. An employer identification number. So you enter your business identification number, and that will be the identification number related to the business you are filing for. So name, enter your business name, and it has to be the legal name of your business. So if you are a sole proprietor, it will be probably your own name. But again, the best way to find out is to pull the EIN application form that you submitted to IRS, if you have one in your record, or the SS4 letter that you received from IRS following your application, your EIN application. That will have your business legal name, and that's why you will put on the line for name. If you are a single member LLC that file Schedule C, it will be the business name and the business EIN number, not the owner's name or owner's SSN or owner's EIN, but the business legal name and the business EIN. So again, the best way to find that is on the SS4 form or the record you have of the EIN application form that you submitted to IRS. And if you are a sole proprietor, chances are it's going to be your own name and the business EIN number. But again, yeah, you'll find the information on the SS4 form or the record of your EIN application. So you enter your business name, and if you have a DBA or trade name, it will go on the trade name section. Otherwise, you just leave it blank if you don't have one. So in this example, we have the business EIN, we have the business legal name, Liberman Consulting L.L.C. The trade name or the DBA is ninasop. And then we have the address, that will be the business address, city, states, and zip code. We do have the right section, type of return you are filing. Is it an amended return? Is it a successor employer? Is it a return with no payment to employees in 2023? Is it a final return, business close, or stop paying wages? So if none of it apply to you, you leave them blank. So Form 940 for 2023 Part 1. If you had to pay state unemployment tax in one state only, enter the state abbreviation. And here you can see we put the business location Iowa, and therefore we will, on line 1A we will put that symbol again. And if you do not know the symbol of the states, you can look on Form 940 Schedule A for 2023, and you'll be able to scroll down and look for the state your business in to see the right abbreviation that they are using. Okay, so and line 1A, we just did that. 1B, if you had to pay state unemployment tax in more than one state, you are a multi-state employer, and you will check box 1B and complete Schedule A, Form 940, and that will be Schedule A. Multi-state employer and credit reduction information. It has the instruction as well. But yeah, it's just, and I think as a multi state, you'll check the state that you have to file with on it. But because it gave you the option to check, I don't know if it allow me to take it off, okay? But it only give you the option to complete this section for California and for New York, and that is for reduction purposes, credit reduction state purposes only. But for the multiple states, you have the postal abbreviation to check that is kind of working, that you can do this one. Those are the gray area, you cannot do anything there. Therefore, for the multiple states, you will complete the business identification number for your business and your business legal name, and then you check the states that you X in the box of every state in which you had to pay state unemployment tax this year. For each state with credit reduction rate greater than 0, enter the FUTA taxable wages multiplied by the reduction rate and enter the credit reduction amount. So don't include in the FUTA taxable wages box wages that were excluded from state unemployment tax. See the instruction. So if any states don't apply to you, leave them blank. But again, for credit reduction, IRS determine what states are subject to credit reduction. And on this form, only two, no, I think there might be more than two, but so far we found California and New York. You can see that you can enter data there. It's now gray. And then you have Virgin Island, I believe, VI. That is, so that means those three states are in the list for the credit reduction states. Okay, so, but just know that this form has two purposes: credit reduction states and then multi-state employers. Okay, let's go back. So it does not apply to this example. We are going to leave that blank. So line 2, we just talked about line 2 there as well. So if you pay wages in a state that is subject to credit reduction, you will check that and you complete Schedule A. So Schedule A work for 1B and 2. So we are going to leave that alone. So part 2, determine your FUTA tax before adjustment. If any does not apply, leave it blank. So total payment to all employees. Again, Form 940 is annual federal, is an annual tax return. You file it once a year. So how many times do you file Form 940 in a year? You only file Form 940 federal unemployment tax. You file it once a year with IRS. But if you have deposit to make, depend on the threshold, you will make deposits quarterly during the year, but you file the return once a year, and it is due by January 31st. And for Form 940 2023 Form 940, it is due by January 31st 2024. So the total payment to all employees that they are asking here is for the whole year. you will pull your payroll data, and here we have payroll spreadsheets. And this payroll spreadsheet, a version of it is free to find at nenasoap.com under free download. We have the FUTA session here. Let me see. Let's see the data that we have. So you enter the data under federal tax income, and we have the total, but we are going to go to the summary tab to pull report from the summary tab. So they are asking for the total wages and officer compensation to all employees. So it's for the whole year, and that will be 48,000 in this example. Therefore, we'll go to our line 3 and we'll put 48,000. And from 940, you can round it or not. So I'm not going to round it, therefore I'm going to enter something in the decimal section. Line 4, payment exempt from FUTA tax. So if there is payment exempt from FUTA tax, you'll put the amount and you'll check the box that payment is related to. Is it French benefits? Is it group term life insurance, dependent care, retirement pension, or other? We are going to leave it blank. It's not related to this example. And again, if you have a type of payment that is exempt from FUTA tax, you can read the instruction for line 4 to understand it better. So line 5, total payment made to each employee is in excess of 7,000. The FUTA tax, the federal to the Fed, you pay unemployment tax on the first 7,000 that you pay each employee in your business during the year. Therefore, you want to track your payroll in a way that you can, when you reach that threshold for each one of your staff members. And we will go to our spreadsheet, and we will go to the FUTA tax to see if the FUTA tax took that into consideration. So for quarter one 6,000 for each one in those two examples, and those are by quarter. Do we have, let's use the summary one. And when you are using the template, you can add more information on it, though it's pulling data from federal income tax return where we enter information. So every month, in this example, every month the person is paid $2,000. So for 3 months, that's 6,000. So pretty much is the wages for the quarter is 6,000 for this person and 6,000 for this person. And quarter 2 the same, quarter 3 the same as well, and quarter 4 the same. So the total payment is 24 for the first person, 24 for the second person. So here it's pretty much saying line 3 from 940, and I believe that's what we completed with the total, and that is the total there as well. So the summary can actually help a little bit complete Form 940. So now we have payment exempt from FUTA. It is blank for us. That's the total. And the first 7,000 is here, and we put that through, and the income excess or above 7,000 is 17,000 for the first person, 17,000 for the next person, totaling to 34,000. So we'll put this for 34,000 in on line 5 and pretty much the way it works is, you know that you the employer will pay FUTA tax on the first 7,000 you pay each employee. So in this example, we have 2 employees. So the first 7,000 for 2 people, that'll be 14,000. So if you take and you know they got pay more than 7,000 during the year. So if you take your calculator and we do 48,000 minus 14,000, it'll give you that 34 that we put on line 5. Line 6 is line 4 and line 7 total together, and that would be 34,000, the amount exempt from FUTA. Excuse me. So who pay FUTA tax? The employer pay FUTA tax. You pay FUTA tax on the first $7,000 that you pay each employee in your business during the year. You do not withhold unemployment tax from employees' wages. Your business is the one that pay FUTA tax on the first 7,000 that the business pay each employee during the year. And the FUTA tax is up to 6% on that first 7,000 wages paid to each employee. So it's up to 6% in that sense that if you are qualified for a maximum credit, your FUTA tax will be 0.6% for the year. So Form 940, line 7, total taxable FUTA wages. So it's going to be line 3, the total amount you pay during the year wages wise, minus line 6. It's going to be the taxable FUTA wages. So you are going to get the calculator, and it's going to be 48,000 minus 34,000 is going to be 14,000, and you'll enter 14,000 on line 7, and we can double check that. Let's see if we have anything on here. Okay, so we didn't even calculate that on the spreadsheet. Okay, so FUTA tax before adjustment. So you'll apply 0.6% on it. So they say to take line 7 times 0.006. We'll get the calculator. 14,000 times 0.006, and that will be 84. So we'll put 84, and we can look at our spreadsheet to look at it. So for this spreadsheet, it's a little bit different from the free version. This one has not been added there yet, and the difference is the version there is if all your wages, taxable FUTA wages, is exempt from federal unemployment tax. In that case, there is that 5.4% that need to be applied on the wages. So the free version that we have at Nina Soap calculates that. So if you are qualified for the maximum credit, then you will use the dollar amount from that column, and now the total FUTA tax, because the total FUTA tax is going to take from is going to apply for 5.4% and 0.6%. Is going to take both. So the one on the website behave like that, but this one has a condition that you have to complete. So if you are going to pay state unemployment tax, and you pay on time, you will put yes. So when you put yes, it's going to automatically now calculating 5.4% there. But if I take that yes out of there and I go back, it's going to calculate it. And the one we have, the free version that we have on our website, and that's free payroll spreadsheet form 940, and that is the version that I'm using. But the version that I'm using has been updated this month of December to add that extra condition. The one that I just point out, that is the way it behaves. Like if you are not going to pay state tax, unemployment tax, therefore you have both calculating, like it's calculating 5.4% on the FUTA wages and 0.6%. If you are using that free version and you are going to pay unemployment tax to the state and on time, you just use the 0.6 total amount, which is 84. You do not use this total colon when we get to line 12. Okay, so I'm going to leave it like this for now, and we will go back. So line 84, like the way we have it on this column. So now part 3, determine your adjustment. If any line does not apply, leave a blank. So if all of your taxable FUTA wages you paid were excluded from state unemployment tax, multiply line 7 by 0.054. And by the time I was designing the spreadsheet, I didn't pay state unemployment tax because I called and asked the state tax department, and no one gave me a good answer there. And since IRS instruction for Form 940, they say that some states do not tax office, that some states officers, the business does not pay unemployment tax on officer salaries. Therefore, I didn't pay state unemployment. So since they didn't give me a good answer, I thought maybe as officer, because I don't have employee, I'm the employee and I'm an officer of the business, the L.L.C tax as an S corp. Therefore, the state will not collect unemployment tax on wages that the business pay me. Therefore, the payment, I paid the full 6% to federal during those years, and the spreadsheet was designed around that time, and I just designed it like that. But again, and I have it for free as well for anyone to use that wants to use it, or to use as an inspiration to design their own. But if you are using that spreadsheet, but you are going to pay state unemployment tax to your state and will benefit for the maximum credit, just use the column that is charging 0.6% on the FUTA wages. Okay, so now, so in that for that reason, we leave line 9 blank. But if the payment you are paying yourself is excluded from state unemployment tax, then you will put this dollar amount, like the FUTA wages, that is, the FUTA tax wages, you'll time it by 4.5%, and the result will go on line 9 of part 3. But in this example, it does not apply to us. Therefore, we are going to leave that line blank. But if it is excluded from the state unemployment tax, you will not leave a blank. So line 10, if some of the taxable FUTA wages you paid were excluded from state unemployment tax, or you pay any state unemployment tax late, you will use the worksheet at the end of Form 940 to figure out the amount, the adjustment amount that you have to pay back. It's not going to be the full 5.4%. So that means pretty much, let's say your state does not collect unemployment tax on salary paid to officers, and your business, you are the owner of your business, you are an officer, and then you have employees as well. So that means you are not going to pay unemployment tax to your state on the officers that you pay in the business, but you are going to pay state unemployment tax on the employees in your business. Therefore, you have that situation where some are excluded and some are not. So line 10 will be more related to your business, and then you'll go to the instructions, and I think it's going to be at the end, page 16 of the instructions. No, I want to page 12. Yeah, page 12. But I think, let's see if they have another. Yeah, page 12 of the instruction has the worksheet that you will use to determine, the portion that you will pay fully 6% to IRS on, and the portion that you will pay less than that on. So we are not going to go through the worksheet, but the worksheet is there. Okay, so we are going to leave line 9 blank, line 10 blank, and line 11. Another thing I will suggest as well, if you are not sure if you qualify for the maximum credit, is to visit your state. And again, for that line 9 not to be related to you, you have to make sure you are paying your state unemployment tax, and you are paying it on time by the due date that this Form 940 is due to IRS, which is January 31st of 2024. So that means you have to make sure, even if the state unemployment tax return is due later than January 31st, you have to make sure you made the state unemployment tax deposit by the date this IRS Form 940 is due. That is when you know that you'll be eligible for the maximum 5.4% credit. Also, it'll be good to check your state's website. And I thought for Iowa is the state tax department will be the right one to contact. And I contacted them some years ago asking that question about the FUTA tax, and I think it's the first time that I fill it out, that I have to actually put a dollar amount in it, that I call the state to see if I need to pay them unemployment tax as well, and they couldn't give me a good answer there. They didn't just know. But as I'm doing the research this year on it, I noticed that in fact it's not the state tax department that is in charge of that, but it's the workforce department. So if you are having issue finding it out, it is the pretty much the human resources of the state. So for Iowa, it's Iowa workforce. And when we go to the Schedule A, I think IRS has a link as well, but that link does not take you directly to the right website though. And I think Google might even give you the right website even faster. So you see, the labor department, they are the one that collect state unemployment tax, and they call it different way. They call it state insurance, unemployment insurance, or state unemployment insurance tax or something like that. So if I click on this, it's going to take me out of here. Let's try that. But then you'll be able to try your states. But again, just know that you have to poke around a little bit before you find the right information on it, and you'll be able to call as well and ask questions. So and then you can just try, and that's Iowa Workforce pretty much that is in charge of that. But and that's how I found out that in fact for Iowa they have, if you are, it's not about how the business is treated for tax purposes, but how the business file with the state. And Liberman Consulting L.L.C is an NLC, file with the state as an NLC, but then is treated for tax purposes as an S corp. Therefore, for LLC in Iowa, all the if you pay the members based on their ownership percentage or ownership allocation, if you pay them based on that, you are now required to pay unemployment tax on it, on their wages. But if you pay them differently from their ownership percentage, you will pay unemployment tax on those wages. So members of the LLC working in the business, they are treated like employees for unemployment tax purposes for Iowa, and regardless of how they file tax, it is based on how you register the business with the state of Iowa. Therefore, as LLC, those members, if you pay them based on their ownership percentage in the business, you will not pay unemployment tax on those payments. But if you pay them differently from their ownership percentage, you will pay unemployment tax on those wages. And in Liberman Consulting case, for instance, 5 people, pretty much the whole family, my husband and my children, are members of that LLC, but at different percentage rates. And my husband and I collected salaries from the business, and not based on our ownership percentage. Therefore, based on my understanding, I should pay unemployment tax on those salaries. So then, as I kept poking around, I came across, let me see if I'll find it here. Oh no, I think I can find it here. I came across on their website, they have a section, one for the state of Iowa, for instance, they will fix the wages that is subject to unemployment tax, so it's higher than the federal, and then they have a way to classify to choose the rate you'll pay as well. But as I was looking around, they have this section for Federal Unemployment Tax Act, where they stated that you can receive a maximum credit equal to 5.4% against this tax if you are participating in a state UI program that is pretty much unemployment insurance program that meets federal requirement. The FUTA tax for 2024 is scheduled to be 6.6% on the first 7,000 of wages paid to employee. And then they have, due to the ongoing solvency of the UI Trust Fund, the 5.4% credit is applied to all accounts, making the tax rate of 0.6% on the first 7,000 of wages paid to employees. So I took a screenshot to file for my record, but pretty much the way I understood it is, yeah, well, for the state of Iowa, if we meet the requirement, which to me means you are paying state unemployment tax and you are going to pay on time by the time Form 940 for IRS is due, you can claim that maximum 5.4%. And based on this assumption, for this year, I left line 9 blank for the first time. But for the prior years that I didn't pay state unemployment tax, I was paying the full 6% to IRS by, applying 5.4% on the amount on line 7 and put on line 9 and pay that as well. So, I pay to the state, but I pay to IRS. So that's just, so you might want to check first with your state to make sure you are going to pay unemployment tax on the FUTA wages to know if you are qualified for the maximum credit. Okay, so now let's continue. So we are going to leave part 3 blank. Part 4, total FUTA tax after adjustment is line A plus 9, 10, 11. So it's going to be line 8, 9, 10, 11, and it's going to be 84. And that's where, if you are using the free payroll spreadsheet and you qualify for the maximum credit, you ignore this column and you just, because you are now going to pay that 5.4% if you pay state unemployment on the FUTA tax, on the FUTA wages. So you are going to ignore that. Therefore, this one may not apply to you, but only this one will apply to you. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to put that yes back again. Okay, that's the 84 on line 12 is going to be 84. So line 13, FUTA tax deposited for the year, including any overpayment applied from a prior year. So if you make payment during the year, you will enter on line 13. If you not payment, deposit. If you make deposit during the year, you will add it on line 13. Or if you have an overpayment from last year, last year FUTA tax Form 940, you'll put on line 13. Otherwise, you leave line 13 blank. In this example, we are going to leave it blank. So line 14, balance due. So if line 12 is more than line 13, put the excess on line 14. So pretty much line 14 is the difference between line 12 and 13. So if the FUTA tax is more on line 12 is more than line 13, the total deposit, the difference will go on line 14. But if the FUTA tax is less than the amount deposited, then you IRS owe you money, you'll put it on overpayment line, which is line 15. In this example though, line 12 is more than line 13. Therefore, 84 minus 0 is 84. We are going to add 84 on line 14 balance due line. Okay. So if line 14 is more than 500, you must deposit your tax. And you deposit your tax using EFT, electronic fund transfer, via EFTPS a system. That's an account you have to create with IRS to make deposits. But if your line 14 is 500 or less, you may pay this return. You may pay that with your Form 940, and that's what we are going to use in this example. So our total is 84 and is less than 500. And by the way, if you make more deposit on line 13 than you owe tax, then you'll have an overpayment on line 15 and you won't have anything on line 14. Line 14 will be blank and you'll complete line 15 instead. If line 12 is less than line 13, the difference between the two will go on line 15, the money that IRS owe you. And then you choose between applying the IRS, keeping it for you to apply to the next return next year, or asking them to send you a refund by checking send a refund. But because we owe them, we put that difference on line 14, we leave line 15 alone. So what page is this one again? Is it page 2? Yeah, I think so. Page 2 of Form 940. So you make sure you put your business legal name. Again, business legal name that you have on the first page. You put it on the top, at the top of the second page, and you put your business EIN number. It should match what you have on top. Should match those two information here. That's why we have Liberman Consulting and we have the EIN number. So part 5, line 16. So report your FUTA tax liability by quarter only if line 12 is more than 500. If not, go to part 6. So if your total tax on line 12 is more than 500, IRS will ask you to disclose how that is broken down by quarter. So that means it is crucial for you to track your payroll based on how you will file the return with it, and that is the tax liability. And even the free version has been modified earlier this year, and it include the quarterly session as well. And we do have the quarterly, the liability, because it's the first 7,000. So if you see the first quarter have 72 for tax liability, the second one has 12, and that 7,000 was exhausted. So the quarter 3 didn't have anything, quarter 4 didn't have anything. So, and I think, let me see, total FUTA. Yeah, this one is pretty much helping doing that. In this instance though, that our total is less than 84, we do not need to complete it, but I'm going to complete it to just show you how you will be completed in this example. If we were required to complete it, our quarter 1 will be 72, our quarter 2 will be 12, and our quarter 3 and 4 will remain blank. So, and then the total should match your line 12. You see, it should match line 12, and the total will be 72 plus 12, and that'll be 84, and that'll be 84, and that 84 should match line 12, and you can see that it matched. But because our line 12 is less than 500, we are now required to complete it. Therefore, we'll leave it blank. And I believe we have the total wages here we could have used as well. In fact, yeah, this one could have helped as well to know payment in excess of 7,000. But yeah, the FUTA threshold. But yeah, so let's continue to our total, the summary by quarter. So the summary by quarter will be able to help us complete the quarterly liability as well. So the free version of our payroll spreadsheets has that option, has this summary by quarter for you to pull the data from as well if you are using it. So part 6, let's move on. May we speak with a third design? If you choose somebody here, it's just related to this return, not any other return. But we are going to say no. If there is a question, IRS they will address it to you specifically. So, and part 5, sign this return. So you will put your name, and in this example, we'll put the name, and we'll put the title, and we'll put the phone number. So who must sign Form 940? So if you are an LLC tax as an S Corp, any officer of the business, the president, the vice president can sign the return. Either one, one of those people can sign the return. If you are an LLC, now if you are an LLC that file Form 1065 partnership tax return, the member of the LLC that work in the business or have good knowledge of the business, how the business function, can sign as well. And we will see more on it on the instructions. So pretty much you are done filing the form so far, and if you are filing it for a client and you are getting paid, then you will complete the pay preparator use only section by adding the tax preparator's name, your firm business name, business address, city, state, zip code, phone number, EIN, and if you are self-employed, you check that box and you put your tax preparation PTN number on it, and when you print it out, you sign your date and your client sign and date as well. But if you are filing for your own business, you leave the paid preparator use only section alone, because your business is not paying you to file the tax return. They are paying you to work in the business. Therefore, you leave the paid preparator use only section alone. So because here we didn't make deposits, we have the choice to make deposits or to pay with the return. Because the amount we owe is less than 500, we are going to pay with this return. Therefore, we need to complete Form 940 voucher. If you choose to make a deposit, you are done filing Form 940. You do not complete the voucher. But if you are you want to make the payment with the Form 940, then you scroll down to the voucher and you complete the voucher by adding the business legal name, the business address, city, state, zip code, the business EIN number, just like the way you have it on the first page of Form 940, and you ask the dollar amount you are going to include, the payment you are going to include, or the amount you owe, that is $84. And when you complete that, you might want to read instructions on it. So you will use a check. I prefer a check to a money order because there is more space on the check to write. And you write the check to United States Treasury, and also when they receive it, they did the transfer, you will see it going through your bank. You know they received the form and they received the payment. They cannot say they didn't receive the form when they cash the check, and they both are together, right? Okay, so on the check, you will write the check to United States Treasury. You make sure you put your business EIN on the check, and you put on the check, on the memo section, you put Form 940 for 2023, and you sign the check. And make sure you don't staple the check to the voucher. you'll have three pieces in the envelope. You'll have the Form 940, you'll have Form 940 voucher, and you'll have the check. So that's three different things that you do not staple to either one of them. You keep them separate. And what I like to do is use 9 by 12 envelope, put the Form 940, those two pages, I'll staple them and I'll put it in the envelope, 9 by 12 envelope, and then I'll take a smaller envelope and I will put the Form 940 voucher, because you will carry here, so that's a small paper, and I will put that in a smaller envelope, and I will put the check in that envelope. Sometimes I will print it out like a whole paper too, and then I'll fold it in three to fit a small envelope, and then I'll put the check inside of the paper. Because I fold it in three, it's like a cup. I'll put the check in it, in one of the fold of this paper, and then I'll put it in a smaller envelope, and then I'll put that envelope in the 9 by 12 envelope. Because the check and the voucher are small paper, I want that to be in a smaller envelope, and then I'll put it in the bigger envelope where the 940 is. That way it's not like loose paper moving around in the bigger envelope. But that's just food for thought. So now they have some conditions here, and to avoid a penalty, make your payment with your 2023 Form 940 only if your FUTA tax for the fourth quarter plus any undeposited amount from earlier quarters is $500 or less. So if your FUTA tax, and I think that's pretty much, I don't really want to care about the gray area, is either less and I can make the payment with the return, or no more other condition needed. If I need to make a deposit, I'll make a deposit in that. That way is simple, and you don't need too much of brain power to trying to register all those gray area around it. But again, if you want to work with gray area, you can continue reading it. So if your total FUTA tax after adjustment, line 12, is more than $500, you must make a deposit by electronic fund transfer, EFT, and they talk about it. So, but yeah, and that's pretty much what that is. So now, how do you mail Form 940 with payment to IRS, or where do you mail Form 940 FUTA tax in 2023 with payment? Or again, how do you mail, where do you mail 2023 Form 940 with payment? So we will go to page 4 of the instructions for 2023 Form 940, page 4, to find the address. So you first locate the state where your business is, and you are going to add payment, complete Form 940V. That means you are adding payment, and you are going to add a check to Form 940. Therefore, you look at with payment, mailing Form 940 with payment, that correspond, and the box that correspond to the box where your state is located. In this example, all the states, Iowa is highlighted here, that's where our business is located. All the states in this box will use the Internal Revenue Service PO Box 93 2000, Louisville, Kentucky 4293-2000 address to mail their 2023 Form 940 FUTA tax with payment to IRS. If you deposited your tax and you didn't complete the Form 940V, Then you'll mail your tax return Form 940 for 2023 to the without a payment address that corresponds to the state, to the cell, to the box that where your state is located, and that will be this address. But in this example, because we complete voucher, that implies we are going to add payment to the Form 940 and mail it. Therefore, we will use with payment colon, and we will use the address that is on the same line as our state. Thank you so much for watching. So now let's go through Form 940 instructions. Highlight a few things that it might be worth we all take a look at. Okay, so the first one is making deposits. You need to have EFTPS account with IRS, and you make deposits using that. You do not make deposits using electronic fund withdrawal. Is more to make payment, and I think you use it when you are using tax software. But again, just know that to make payment and deposits, you can use EFT, electronic fund transfer, via EFTPS. And if your business change name, IRS has information, and that's what I was talking about earlier, where you can make deposits EFT via EFTPS, Electronic Federal Tax Payment System. And when Form 940 for 2023 is due by January 31, 2024. So just know that IRS Form 940 unemployment tax is due by January 31st. Okay, so only employers pay FUTA tax. So you do not withhold that on employees' wages, and the FUTA tax apply to the first $7,000 you pay to each employee during a calendar year. Again, it's very important. Calendar year, after subtracting any payment exempt from FUTA tax, is important too. So fringe benefits and all that, when you subtract all of those out of it, the first $7,000 you will collect FUTA tax on it. So who must file Form 940? So except as noted below, if your answer is yes to either one of those questions, you must file Form 940. Did you pay wages of $1,500 or more to employees in any calendar quarter during 2023 or 2023? Did you have one or more employees, or at least some part of a day in any 20 or more different weeks in 2022, or 20 or more different weeks in 2023? Count if all full-time, part-time, and temporary employees. However, if your business is a partnership, don't count as partners. So it's good to read the instructions to see all those nuances in it. So if your business was sold or transferred during the year, each employer who answers yes to at least one question above must file Form 940. However, don't include any wages paid by the predecessor employer or on your Form 940 unless you are the successor employer. So, but yeah. And if you are not liable for FUTA tax for 2023 because you made no payment to employees in 2023, check the box C in the top right corner of the form. Then go to part 7, sign the form and file it with IRS. And the box C is no payment to employee in 2023. And we have a video on how to file Form 940 if with no wages or no employees, and we will see how we file it as well. And they say you go to part 7, you sign it, pretty much you complete the part 7. But again, remember to put the business information on top on the page, and any area that you don't have anything information, any information for you, leave it blank. And I tend to complete the line 1A as well because of the verb they use. But yeah, let's continue here. Okay, so who must file Form 940? When? So the due date is January 31st. So, however, if you deposit all your FUTA tax when it is due, you may file Form 940 by February 12, 2024. I just like to go with January 31st. That way I know that it's just one date and multiple things need to be filed by then. It's easy to remember. Again, you just January 31st make it a cutoff date and make sure you file it on time. And we went through the address, so we'll continue. So state unemployment tax are sometimes called contribution. Those contributions are payment that state require an employer to make to its employment fund for the payment of unemployment benefit. They don't include payment deducted or deductible for employee pay, penalty, interest. They don't include those penalty, interest, especially, and yeah. But anyway, so additional credit, you may receive an additional credit if you have a state experience rate lower than 5.4%. Lower than 5.4%. This applies even if your rate varies during the year. This additional credit is the difference between your actual state unemployment tax payments and the amount you will have been required to pay at 5.4%. For wages paid to a work site employee, the CPEO is allowed the additional credit if the CPO is allowed under state law to collect and remit contribution to the state unemployment fund with respect to work site employee. Okay, so let's, yeah, it's very important to read this section. You may receive an additional credit if you have a state experience rate lower than 5.4%. This applies even if your rate varies during the year. This additional credit is the difference between your actual state unemployment tax payments and the amount you will have been required to pay at 5.4%. Okay. And you can find that on page 5 of the instructions for Form 940. When must you deposit your FUTA tax? Although Form 940 covers a calendar year, You may have to deposit your FUTA tax before you file your return. If your FUTA tax is more than $500 for the calendar year, you must deposit at least one quarterly payment. And they went and explain it. So pretty much, if one quarter is so you must determine when to deposit your tax based on the amount of your quarterly tax liability. So if your FUTA tax is $500 or less in a quarter, carry it over to the next quarter. Continue carrying your tax liability over until your cumulative tax is more than $500. At that point, you must deposit your tax for the quarter. Deposit your FUTA tax by the last day of the month after the end of the quarter. If your tax for the next quarter is $500 or less, you are now required to deposit your tax again until the cumulative amount is more than $500. If your FUTA tax for the fourth quarter plus any undeposited amount from earlier quarter is more than $500, deposit the entire amount by July 31st of 2024. If it is $500 or less, you can either deposit the amount or pay with your Form 940 by January 31st of 2024. In years when there are credit reduction states, you must include liability owed for credit reduction with your fourth quarter deposit. And they have the quarter cut-off dates for you to use. So you owe FUTA tax on the first $7,000 you pay to each employee during the calendar year after subtracting any payment exempt from FUTA tax. So the FUTA tax is 6% for 2023. Most employers receive a maximum credit up to 5.4% against this FUTA tax. Every quarter, you must figure how much of the first $7,000 of each employee annual wages you pay during that quarter, and you figure the tax liability. So the tax rate are based on they pretty much, before you can figure the amount to deposit, figure your FUTA tax liability for the quarter. To figure your tax liability, add the first $7,000 of each employee annual wages you pay during the quarter for FUTA wage pay and multiply that by 0.006. The tax rates are based on you receiving the maximum credit against FUTA tax. You are entitled to the maximum credit if you pay all state unemployment tax by the due date of your Form 940, or if you weren't required to pay state unemployment tax during the calendar year due to your state experience rates. I'm going to read that section again. Your tax rates are based on you receiving the maximum credit against FUTA taxes. You are entitled to the maximum credit if you paid all state unemployment tax by the due date of your Form 940, or if you weren't required to pay state unemployment tax during the calendar year due to your state experience rate, because the state might have different rates for different businesses. So, and again, that's related to the credit. If any wages subject to FUTA tax aren't subject to state unemployment tax, you may be liable for FUTA tax at the maximum rate of 6%. For instance, in certain states, wages paid to corporate officers certain payment of sick pay by union and certain fringe benefits are excluded from state unemployment tax. And they have some examples on that as well. And we talk about deposit using the EFT, so we are not going to cover that again. And pretty much don't enter dollar sign or decimal point. Comma are optional, so enter dollar on the left and of the preprint decimal point and the cents to the right. You may choose to round to the nearest dollar instead of reporting cents on this form, but if you choose to round, you must round everything. If a line is blank or has a $0 value, you just leave it blank. So, and we cover the EIN as well. So your EIN address, the name should be the legal business name, and you can find that on the EIN form SSN, the reply you got for when you apply to EIN. And if you are a sole proprietor, it will be your business that you'll put as the legal name. And if you and a single member LLC, you will use the business name and the business EIN, not the owner's name or the owner's EIN, but the business name and the business EIN. So a disregarded entity is required to file Form 940 using its name and EIN, not the names and the EIN of its owner. An entity that has a single owner and is disregarded as a separate from its owner for federal income tax purposes is treated as a separate entity for purposes of payment and reporting federal employment taxes. And disregarded entity include single owner LLC that haven't elected to be taxed as a corporation for federal income tax purposes. So for credit reduction, let's see. So if you pay wages in a state that is subject to credit reduction, so a state that hasn't repaid money it borrowed from the federal government to pay unemployment tax benefit is called a credit reduction state. The U.S. Department of Labor determines which states are credit reduction states. And if you pay wages that are subject to unemployment tax law of a credit reduction state, you may have to pay more FUTA tax when filing your Form 940. And the Schedule A, I'm not sure we can go back. Schedule A has three. They say the government decide the credit reduction states, and the Schedule A that is filed by credit reduction state has three options open. So I will assume if your business is in a credit reduction state, you have California, you have New York, and you have Virgin Island. I believe that's why VI is. That are in the credit reduction states, because every other area are blank. You cannot enter data there unless you are filing Schedule A for multiple states employer purposes. If you are filing for credit reduction, there are three states that for 2023 are considered as credit reduction states. So the U.S. Department of Labor determines which states are credit reduction states. And again, only the first 7,000 you pay FUTA tax on the first 7,000 on each employee. Okay, so line 9. So if all the taxable FUTA wages you pay were excluded from state unemployment tax, so line 9 does not apply to FUTA wages on which you pay no state unemployment tax only because your state assign you a tax rate of 0%. So that means if your state has 0% a tax rate for unemployment tax for the type of business you have, it's not a and therefore you don't owe state unemployment tax. It's not a reason for you to think you have to pay that 5% to the federal by completing line 9. That's the way I understand it. This line 9, that they say that if all your taxable FUTA wages you pay were excluded from state unemployment tax, multiply line 7 by 0.05, 0.054, and then the instruction say if line 9 does not apply to FUTA wages on which you pay no state unemployment tax only because the state assign you a tax rate of 0. So I think that's kind of important as well. So if all of your taxable FUTA wages you paid were excluded from state unemployment tax, then you multiply line 7 by 0.04 and enter that result on line 9. But again, just know in what condition you have to do that and when you should not do that. So if you weren't required to pay state unemployment tax because all of your wages you pay were excluded from state unemployment tax, you must pay FUTA tax at the 6% rate. For example, if your state unemployment tax law exclude wages paid to corporate officers or employees in a specific occupation and the only wages you pay were to corporate officers or employees in those specific occupation, you must pay FUTA tax on those wages at the full FUTA rate 6%. When you figure the FUTA tax before adjustment on line 8, line 8 was using line 7, the total FUTA wages times 0.6%. So when you figure that FUTA tax before adjustment on line 8, it was based on the maximum allowable credit for 5.4% for state unemployment tax payment. Because you didn't pay state unemployment tax, you don't have a credit and must figure this adjustment. So if you pay state unemployment tax and you pay it on time, then you don't have to figure the adjustment. But if you didn't, then you need to figure the adjustment, and they have 3 options here. Even better, they have 2 options, 9 and 10. 11 is for credit reduction state, but 9 and 10 is either your FUTA wages is excluded from state unemployment tax, or line 10, some of the FUTA wages are excluded, or you pay any of state unemployment tax late to your state. Okay, they only have those 2 options. They don't have the option where you have to do the difference between what you pay the state and this amount to add back or anything. So yeah, but let's continue. So the only condition you use the 10 is if some of your FUTA wages you pay were excluded from state unemployment tax, or you pay any state unemployment tax late. Okay. And so if line 9 apply to you, line 10 and 11 don't apply to you. Okay. I mean, I'm very surprised that they even include line 11. So if line 9 apply to you, line 10 and 11 don't apply to you. Therefore, you leave line 10 and 11 blank. So the way that means is, even if you are in a state reduction, if you are in a reduction state, credit reduction states, if you complete line 9 and pay 5.4% extra on your FUTA wages, you do not complete line 9. That's the way I understood this session. But again, you can read it yourself to see how you understand it. So if line 9 applies to you, line 10 and 11 don't apply to you. Therefore, leave line 10 and 11 blank. Don't fill out the worksheet in this instruction. Complete Schedule A only if you are a multi-state employer. Okay, again, you might want to read this session. The way I understood it is, if line 9 apply to you, if line 9 apply to you and you charge 5.4% on line 7 and put it here, automatically you do not complete line 10 and 11. If you are in a state reduction, if you are in a credit reduction state, which automatically require you to complete Schedule A, line 11 for that matter, when line 9 applies to you, they say not to complete line 10, not to complete line 11. And in that case, you do not complete Schedule A either. And the only reason you will complete the Schedule A in that instance will be if your business is located in multiple states, like if you pay state unemployment tax in more than one state. So you'll only complete the form Schedule A to just check those states that you pay state unemployment tax. You do not complete Schedule A because you are in a credit reduction state. If you complete line 9, and therefore you may not even, but yeah, so yeah, if you are in multiple states, you will check that one B. But yeah, that's just those nuances that can be very confusing. But take your time, read it, and you can find it on page 10 of IRS instructions for Form 940 2023. Okay. Complete only Schedule A only if you are multi-state, and it's just related to if line 9 you complete line 9. If you are from credit reduction state and you do not, and you pay your state's unemployment tax on time, none of your FUTA tax wages is excluded from unemployment tax, you will not complete line 9. Therefore, you need to complete Schedule A and complete the credit reduction section, line 11. So just keep that in mind. The condition not to complete it is because of line 9 that is already taxing you at the max. Okay, so line 10. If some of your taxable FUTA wages you pay were excluded from state unemployment tax, or you pay any state unemployment tax late, so you must fill out the worksheet on the next page. If some of your taxable FUTA wages you pay were excluded from state unemployment tax, or any of your payment of state unemployment tax were late, the worksheet takes you step by step through the process of figuring your credit. At the end of the worksheet, you will find an example on how to use it. Don't complete the worksheet if line 9 applied to you. Before you can properly fill out the worksheet, you will need to gather the following information. Okay, so You'll complete the form up to line 7 first, and you can just read it and see. And then they say, okay, so taxable state unemployment, the taxable state unemployment wages, state and federal wage base may differ. For instance, for Iowa is 36,000 something, and for the state is 7,000. So for Iowa is 36,100, and for the state is 7,000. So you need to know the state unemployment wages, the experience rate assigned to you by your states, and that is different as well. And they have, but again, I'm not going to go through it, but yeah, it's just an example using Iowa. They have 1%. It range from 1% to 7% or so. So, and they use the maximum for construction business C's. But you have to find which one your states use. The amount of state unemployment tax you pay on time means that you pay the state unemployment tax by the due date for filing Form 940. The amount of unemployment tax, state unemployment tax you pay late. Late means after the due date of filing Form 940. That's pretty much when they say you pay on time is based on the Form 9 IRS Form 940 cutoff. Don't include any penalty, interest, or unemployment tax deducted from your employee pay. Okay, so, but yeah, and they just pretty much explain it. So if any of the experience rate your state assigned you were less than 5% for any part of the calendar year, you might list each assigned experience rate separately of the worksheet. If you are assigned 6 or more experience rate that were less than 5.4% for any part of the calendar, you must use another sheet to figure out the additional credit and then include those additional credit on your line 3 total. But after you complete the worksheet, enter the amount from line 7 of the worksheet on Form 940 line 10. Don't attach the worksheet to the Form 940, just keep it for your own record. But that's pretty much what I wanted to share with you. And yeah, here they are talking about the credit here as well. So if you pay FUTA tax wages that were also subject to state unemployment tax in any state that are subject to credit reduction, enter the total amount from Schedule A on line 11. However, if you enter an amount on line 9, because all the FUTA taxable wages you pay were excluded from state unemployment tax, skip line 11 and go to line 12. Again, we read about it earlier. It's just that if you have something on line 9, if you are in a credit reduction state, automatically line 11 does not apply to you anymore. But if you pay your state unemployment and you do not complete line 9, you will need to complete Schedule A and put whatever is on Schedule A for credit reduction states on line 11. But if you complete line 9, then you'll just go to line 12, credit reduction state or not. But again, you'll find it on page 13 of the instruction for Form 940 2023. And I think that's pretty much, it. And that's how you complete Form 940 for 2023. Thank you very much. We thank you very much for watching our videos. Thank you for all of your comments. And we thank you very much, you all that subscribe to our channel. On our channel and on our blog, we share different ways you can save money and different ways you can make money to reach your financial independence, where you do not depend on an employer to provide for your family. And filing your own federal unemployment tax return yourself is a way to keep your business expenses low. Is a way to save money, keep your business expenses low while your business is still young. And at the same time, it allows you to know how to keep track of your payroll throughout the year to make it easy to file the return. And when you hand it over to somebody else to do it for you, you'll know exactly the document to give them and in what order. And because you'll have record those data properly, it'll be easy for the tax preparer or the tax professional to file your return accurately for you. Because again, you are responsible for the return, whether somebody file it for you or not. You sign it, therefore you are responsible for what is on it. And if you hire a third party to file the return for you, you need to make sure you agree with what is on it. They file it for you, they made the payment, and you agree with what is on it. Thank you very much. We do have liberdownload.com where we sell templates, financial and business templates that you can purchase to manage your business or to manage your finances. And we have ninasoap.com, our blog, where you can find free templates that you can download. You don't need to subscribe or submit your email to access those templates, and you can use them to manage your finances or to manage your business. And we have federal links to IRS forms and instructions that if you don't know, if you are not finding something on their website, you can check on our website to see if we have the link to that form. But yeah, at Liber Download you can find templates, financial template and business template there as well. Thank you very much. I'm Afiavi Liberman, Chris of Liberman Consulting L.L.C YouTube channel, and ninasoap.com, our blog. I don't know if I said that before, but yeah, thank you.